This week, the number one from the front of Ashville Weekly episodes will depart. And from here on out, there will be a 2 at the start. The 200th anniversary. Thank you from my heart to all of you who watch each week and play your part. 200 consecutive weeks trying to produce works of art, sharing with you the good days and some which are dark. Now, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I don't claim to be smart, but I can count. And the Ashville Weekly series has surpassed the 50 million view mark. I'm Daniel, and this is Ashville Weekly, episode 200. It's Monday morning, we're in the yard. We're dismantling material bays in the old yard, and now we've managed to get this bit down, we can move the blocks straight into the other yard from here by extending the telehandler. Or the plastic pipe which was in place for the sprinklers. We're going to pull through as much of the pipe as we can, wind it up and take it down to Chris the plumber so he can decide what bits we need. We want to try and reuse as much as possible. Now, I know this pipe isn't expensive, but you know, we don't want to waste. Here we have a mixture of some of the mortar which was on the floor to create a base for the blocks. We can see ballast, we can see stone, and over here we have the remaining track ballast that came in on a train. We're going to need to use this track ballast for the area where we're going to have the line for the train. Click here to watch a video where I got my own train. Now, we need to move that train in about 4 weeks because Porterbrook want it out of their depot, and I understand, so we're probably going to begin some excavation after our big move on Friday. We have another day of moving where we're going to take the 2 40-foot containers which are left in this yard and the 2 which are opposite the offices in the other yard and begin to build up our temporary workshop area. Then move the other 2 20-foot storage containers and drop the wheel wash in place, and then we'll be able to create a pad for the wheel wash part which we drive over, because when I mentioned wheel wash before, I meant the reservoir. We'll probably get the machine in and scrape up all this material, because this is actually quite a lot of material, and all of this material is money to us. The main problem at the moment is going to be dismantling and shifting the bays around the decorative slate. It's such a high value item that while we're moving it, if the shovel bucket is not completely clear or the area where we're putting it isn't completely clean, we're losing an absolute fortune. It's not like some of the other materials where you can have a very small amount of contamination, up to like 0.1 or 0.2%. We have 6 tippers parked up today at a time when we need to generate as much money as possible. All the tippers which were left in the yard, we're dieseling them up and we're putting AdBlue in them, and we are going to park them outside on the road. So the next person that gets them has a full tank of diesel and AdBlue, and all their tyres are working perfectly well, so they can get out of the yard at 6:15 after they get in at 6 a.m, do their checks, and then they can leave. Preparation can make life a lot more simple. On another note, I just saw Ben pull out. He's off to deliver a machine. This 9-ton machine is getting dropped off at a football training ground. We've already dropped off a dumper. This machine means they can now get to work. Tipper heading out to work, and the driver looks after the lorry. He is a good lad, and he said to me he's been in that lorry for a year, and there's been small issue on the steering wheel, a bit of the rubber, and he said somebody else drove it on Saturday and he's come in today and there's a big chunk out of the steering wheel, and he's very upset that he's looked after the lorry and somebody has damaged it. And when he went to them and said,
like, how has this happened? What have you done?
They were very blasé about it and told him,
just put tape on it.
And he said,
but it's my lorry, I look after it, and if I put tape on it, I'm gonna get sticky hands. I'm not complaining, Dan, but you know, like, I just don't like the response I got.
So what we've said to him is, go on to Amazon, those covers that you can get to go round the outside of the wheel, one of those leather ones, he should go and get one and we'll reimburse him for it. I have no problem with stuff like that. We appreciate people at Ashville who take care of our kit. And I'm never gonna fight someone who's trying to look after the piece of equipment that they're responsible for. I very much like that. Back down in the new yard, Simon prepared it last week and now he is about to give the Weighbridge a coat of yellow paint. The lads are preparing to pour concrete, hopefully tomorrow morning or possibly tomorrow afternoon. And Flo has brought a bucket of recycled gear over to drop near the Weighbridge. Flo's doing that nice and gently so he doesn't kick up dust all over Simon's lovely work of art on the Weighbridge. If you've been watching, you know the drill. Create a sub-base by compacting material, shuttering from 4x2 timber and shuttering ply, and then membrane and one layer of mesh. Unfortunately, I have been at war and struggled for so long that I'm so used to it. You know, as Bane would say,
oh, you think darkness is your ally?
You know how it goes, I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. When I examine people's actions, I can actually spot when they're lining up against me or when they're putting wheels in motion to build up a history of something which they can then try to use later to outmaneuver the firm or outmaneuver myself. And I see it from a mile away. More often than not because they've seen something online or somebody has badly advised them or they've seen some donut on social media talking absolute nonsense about what they should do when the person's never really done it themselves. All they're really interested in is views. So when I see somebody lining up against the firm or lining up against myself, I don't actually say anything and it doesn't bother me. I just think it comes with the territory. Unfortunately, it's happening more and more often. We will adapt, evolve, and if I see someone doing that to myself or doing it to Ashville, we're going to act accordingly and take the necessary steps that we need to take long in advance of what they're planning on doing. With all the moving, I've noticed that there's a couple of big bricks and rocks that when the shovel has been moving material, trying to put it back together, it scooped it in. So the lads are just going around now, taking some of the oversized like bits of concrete and blocks and taking them out the material base. Over this side, I've just asked one of the lads to bring the machine over and the material which is touching the back wall, we're gonna have to get the machine in and we're gonna have to bring the material away from the wall because you can't dismantle the bay while the material's up against it. So we're gonna start by scraping and cleaning this area and then we're gonna bring the track ballast forward and then we're gonna start working our way over to the shingle and sand to give us a bit of space and then we'll make it onto those walls. But I think there's a problem with the forklift. It's actually stopped working, but I think maybe it just got too hot. We've checked the coolant level, we've checked the oil, we've got a warning up on the dashboard, so we're just giving it a chance to cool down. Thankfully, as you can see, the 566 loading shovel is still working well. Now, I had a closer look around this, and while it doesn't look very clean or neat and tidy, it's got a lot of dust on it, this has only got 6,000 hours on it. 6,000 hours is nothing for a machine like this, so this machine's got to last us a couple more years. We had this one and the 586, what Welder Faber still has, what he's repairing, but the boys like the 586 because it's bigger and more powerful, so a lot of the time they just park this up and use the other one. So the hours are considerably lower on this unit, which I'm happy about. Plan for the train. Let's look at the yard 3D. Let's zoom in to where the train is going to be. Once these containers are moved on Friday, we're going to have to begin to prepare this area. But I need to go back to our surveyor and find exactly what the level is where the train will sit and mark it along the fence, so when the contractors come in, they know where the train line needs to finish. But we need to do some prep work. We're going to excavate and remove a lot of the muck. The ground here is very unstable. We're then going to build it up with Type 1, as you saw us do with the train track, and then we're going to pile up some track ballast. The track ballast that you saw earlier when I was asking the lads to remove it from the back fence. We're not buying any more track ballast. That track ballast is going to have to work. That's another reason why we're trying to get it together, to see exactly how much we've got. The train is 23 meters long. So once we've built it all up, they're gonna come and they're gonna take the existing track that we've got left, take off the wooden sleepers, and they're gonna add the remaining concrete sleepers. And then they're also gonna concrete it, and we still have stoppers, and they're gonna add a stop at each end. At first, they're gonna put a stopper at one end, they're gonna offload the train onto it, and then afterwards, they'll fit the stopper at the other end, but I don't quite know how that's gonna work with the concrete and what we're doing. But what the most important thing is to get the levels right and to get my train here. It's going to be a challenging few weeks. I just hope that the sun continues to shine. Delivery here from our friends at F&J Exports. I think I know what this is, but you know what they say about assumptions. Talking with the sales team and just the wider team in the Ashville office, I received messages saying that phone calls had come in and my team had not answered the phone, and therefore we lost out on work. Now, I'm not saying it's true and I'm not saying it's false. What I'm saying is I need to investigate the matter. And I'm also not saying that those calls were related in any way to Ashville doing any business with these people. I'm saying that they said we didn't answer calls. Currently, there's not actually a way of us checking, and we really need to know the amount of calls which are coming in, and we need to record our phone calls. So, Daniel has come up with an idea. I spoke with Harry at Subset, who you've seen in the past mocking me with memes. We are installing a completely new phone system. Everyone in the Ashville office is going to have a desktop phone with a touch screen, and each of the buttons is going to have somebody's name, and you'll be able to direct calls directly to people. All our calls will be recorded, and on the screen in the office where there used to be the cameras, one of the screens will have cameras and the other screen will have this call system logging all the calls which have come in, showing who in our team has made calls. I actually saw this on my visit to Ricketts, big up Ricketts. Their office was run kind of like some sort of Wolf of Wall Street wolf pit with screens like stock traders, and everyone was sell, sell, sell. And I don't think there was a lot of buy, 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 but there was definitely sell, sell, sell. So I'm going to implement that system here because we'll then have more information on what's happening, and it will protect my team from accusations that they don't answer the phone, and it means we can monitor everything. Hey! Volvo badge to go on the missing lorry. This one looks like it may well fit. I'll work out how we're going to attach this. Hopefully it will just click in. Thank you, F&J Exports. I'm going to give this a go later. So my new sales system, hopefully it will allow us to monitor everything that's going on. It will monitor who's busy. It will monitor the calls we've missed, and it will record the phone calls for training purposes. And for those instances when you say to someone, the price is X, and then they call you back later and say,
No, you said the price was Y.
We should have backed it up with an email anyway, which is good practice, which I always encourage. But on the off occasion, when we didn't follow procedure and we didn't send it, we can go back and we can listen to the phone call and we can see what actually took place. On another note, the skydive I said I'm going to do for the Daniel Ashville personal channel, which will be the first video. A couple of people didn't get back to me, and I've now found out why. I am told you cannot weigh over 120 kilos, and I currently weigh 122 and a bit, 123 or 124 kilos. Do I want to go and lose 4 kilos to jump out of a plane? No. but I do need to lose about 7 or 8 kilos anyway. So the reason I haven't thrown myself out of a plane is because I don't think they have a parachute big enough, or nobody wants to strap themselves to me. I am going to do it though. Do you know why I'm going to do it? Because I said I was going to do it, and I do what I say I will. And that is it for a very warm and active Monday, where we all understand that the only place where success comes before work is in the dictionary. Ta-da. It's Tuesday morning. We're in the yard. The sun is shining. I am hiding in the shade, even though I'm a tropical people, and it's time to pour some concrete. A moment of inspiration. We had a surprise visit from one of the rail operators who were coming for a safety check of our old yard because they didn't know that we had moved. Somehow. I'm unsure how they didn't know. But we did the walk of this track and they asked me a question. They said,
Daniel, will there be a rail along here? So people walking here do not step over onto this side, and it also protects the train and the shunter.
At the time, the answer was no. We need to change all the levels in the yard. We do not want the L860 in a position where it's struggling to see what's going on in here, even with the elevated cab. We want to make everything as easy and safe as possible. And then it came to me. And then I called the engineer. Here are concrete blocks. They are 2 meters by 600 by 600. We are going to create a base here, and we are going to put 2 concrete blocks. We're going to find a way to secure them together, whether that be drilling and putting a metal plate between the two. I can get loads of plates made in the exact same size and pre-drilled to fit them here. Then we need a masonry drill and some resin, and we'll be able to keep them together. That protects against a loading shovel driving up to it and giving it a slap. And on the top of that, we can chisel off all the little interlocking sections, and we can drill in and we can put a handrail. That means that this area will be completely protected. The yards can then be raised slightly. We can still continue with all our drainage here, and the L860 will be slightly higher. We'll also need to put a few slightly bigger gaps so people can get into this area with a step so they can get in and they can get out. And at the very top and around this area after the switch, we need to put an area where the sweeper can drive in so it can go up and down and clean the yard. A moment of inspiration. We already have the concrete blocks. We were not going to use them to build any of our material bays. I wanted those to be reinforced concrete walls. So we were going to end up selling all of them. We're not going to anymore. The engineer needs to work on the finer details. But we have a new plan on Tuesday morning, which has inspired me. Time now is 6:13, just locking up the gate and about to head off. I haven't filmed in a couple of hours because I went up the road quickly and I saw one of our grab lorries parked up. And I thought to myself, why is he parked up? Doesn't he have any work to do? I know we're not extremely busy. And then I found out that our grab lorry broke down just up the road here. And Scania came out to look at it, but they said there's a problem with the gearbox, but they're far too busy at Heathrow. They want to fix the lorry in our yard, so it's going to get recovered and put into a corner of the yard where one of the technicians can work on it. Whether you've taken the leap and started your own business or you're already running your own small business, you need a business account that's going to support your growth. Anna offer a business account that helps small business owners manage their finances by automating as much administration as possible. Anna helps business owners and entrepreneurs stay on top of expenses, PAYE, and corporation tax for when you make a profit. The Anna business account can also help you get paid faster, giving you the ability to take payments on the go through the app using a QR code. If you're struggling with the accounting side of running a business, the Anna business account is for you. It can even calculate and file your taxes. So, to unleash your business potential, open a business account with Anna. Use the tools to handle admin and you can focus on running and scaling your business. Use the code ASHL free to get 3 months free. It's Wednesday morning, we're in the yard. It's one of them days when all the concrete pours start later. There were 2 lorries parked up here, one in a repair shop with some work to the conveyor belt. It's finished in half an hour, and we have another one that needs some work to a bearing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the one from here that needs work to the bearing, drop it to the workshop, and take the other one out and bring it back, get that loaded, and then put that one out. While that one leaves to go and get some work done, we're gonna put this in the tire area, and the tire fitter's gonna take a look around it. So by the time the lorry comes back, this one's been looked at, the other one could get loaded, this one could get loaded, and they could both go out to work. You saw us fixing the loading shovel tire last week. Imagine this for luck. Exactly where we fixed it, on the outside of the patch, a nail went through. So now we need to take the entire tire off all over again, do another patch and get it repaired.
No, this way.
The plan has changed again. If you click here to watch a video where we show you how you change gigantic tires on plant and machinery, you'll see that we took 2 tires off. We put 2 new tires on, but we couldn't put one with massive tread, one with small tread, because that axle would be unbalanced. Now these new tires have been worn down a bit. We're gonna take off the one we just repaired just to be safe, and we're gonna take one of the older tires because the new tires that we've put on, they've worn down and they're roughly the same outside diameter, so it shouldn't cause any problems. It means that the tire we take off to repair, the tire technician can get a bigger patch to put on it so the repair's better. And when he comes back, he's gonna let all the air out of the front tires and he's gonna pump O-coat into it, which can seal everything up to an 8mm hole. It's going to take a lot longer to get this shovel working again, but hopefully if we do this, it will last for a lot longer, because at the moment with the moving yards, there's a lot of nails and rebar sticking out the ground everywhere. Last week, you saw we had a problem with the L860. We parked the L860, we cleared all the faults, and we ordered ourselves a sensor. The sensor arrived. We fitted the sensor on this morning, he turned it on and used it for about 20 minutes, and the fault did not come back on. So at the moment, it looks like the L860 is fixed, but it's still parked up because the aircon needs to be regassed. It's extremely hot out, and the aircon also needs to be regassed on the 566. This is why the lads are driving around the yard with the door open on the shovel. I said, what are you doing? Why are you driving around with the door open? And they said,
Because the aircon isn't working.
but why didn't you tell me? And they said,
Because we could see that you're spending so much money in the yard, we didn't want to be a burden.
listen lads, it doesn't work that way. The machine needs to work so you can do the job. I don't want the door open, so someone should be in very soon to do the aircon. Hopefully they turn up while we're still doing the tire, and then both technicians can work on the machine at the same time, and then afterwards it can go out to work and it won't be a problem again. Hopefully. I was going to say we continue on the Weighbridge, but we don't. Simon is continuing on the Weighbridge. Coat number 2 in some places. Coat number 1 on the insides over here. It's now time for coat 2. And more than likely, tomorrow, there'll be coat 3. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 ready. We're going to try and get this one ready also. Around 2 o'clock, the concrete lorries will be back, and then we'll be able to pour all of these, which will mean they will have this evening, Thursday and Thursday night to dry before our big move on Friday.
Horse and a donkey. Same story.
So like a horse, a donkey, and a zebra is the same, but not the same.
Zebra is, yeah, kind of zebra, but let's just stick to horse and a donkey.
Okay, a horse and a donkey.
Keep it easy, because zebra is distinguished.
So it isn't a wasp or a bee, it's a hornet, and they've made a nest.
They made a nest inside, yes, exactly. That's what you can...
Simon, you don't want to share the Weighbridge with any hornets? The complaints in here. Oh, you know, it's so ungrateful, Si. I let you paint the Weighbridge. I connect the Weighbridge for electric. You know what I mean? You've got water.
The best chairs in the world.
You've got the best chair in the world. Couple of hornets and you don't want to do no work. Saw the grab lorry get recovered yesterday and brought back to the yard. And a Scania technician was in earlier, and there were some broken up bearings or O-rings, which he showed to me. And he said it was these small items on the side of the gearbox what caused it to not have any drive. I'm about to find out now because he says it's repaired. Wait for the click. Have any warnings on the dash? It's a good start. Handbrake off. And we are moving. Lorry is working, ready to go. Ben is now going to load up a machine for the morning. Time is 5:25. The aircon engineer is obviously very busy. It's 30 degrees out here. He's managed to get into us and had a look at the 566 first. And it turns out it didn't need to be regassed. There's a fan which sits just behind the cab. It has a filter behind it. The filter was fully blocked with dust. This sheet that the lads have put over the back of it to stop the sunlight coming in, that had fallen behind it as well, and that had stopped the air circulation, and the aircon system just overpressurized and stopped working. So we cleaned the filter, we moved this dirty old rag out of the way, put it back together, and it has cold air. Now it's time to have a look at the LH60. There is cold air coming out of it, but it's not as cold as it should be. So as a process of elimination, The engineer is going to take all the gas out of it, weigh it to see how much exactly was in there, then repressurize it to the correct level, and then see how cold it is or if there are any faults popping up. But by the end of today, there should be cold air inside the L860. Not that there are any trains in the yard at the moment. Just to explain that, I can't take a train in the old yard because we're not meant to be in there and we don't want to pile the material in there. And I can't take one in the new yard because we haven't had 28 days to have a loco go over it to give us sign off. Plus we haven't written down the safe method of work because we're waiting for GB Rail Freight and other operators to pop in and have the discussion with us. The time now is 6:15 p.m. The results of the L860. It's meant to have 1.6 kilograms of gas and it had 900. That is enough to make it a little bit cold, but not enough to make it work properly. So it's been regassed to 1.6 kilograms and it's blowing nice cold air. I'm just gonna grab the keys out of this and out of the loading shovel, make sure they're all isolated. I'm gonna call it a day. That's it for a very productive Wednesday in the yard. It's Thursday morning, I'm not in the yard. I'm on a bit of a reconnaissance mission. I've been listing down all our 40 and 20 yard bins because we're a bit short. And one of them, we hadn't had any communication. So I thought I'd take a drive down to come and find the bin. It took me a while. It wasn't at the address which they had given us, but I found it and it looks pretty full. This is the first of many journeys like this I'm gonna have to do. I should have done this a while ago. I can see on our transportation system where our skips are, but I spoke to the original company that we bought the skips from, the skip factory, for our 8 yard crane and 12 yard skips. I'm making a document and I'm gonna update exactly where all our skips are, and then I'm gonna see how many we had in the first place. Because skips which have been out for a long period of time and people are just using them left on the drive because they don't want to pay for it, too bad. We got to go and collect them and we got to bring them all back in because I'm not going to go and buy more 8, 12 yard and 8 yard crane skips or any roll on roll off bins if they're just sat on people's drives for no reason and they're using them. Time to head to the yard. You know Manny from Elite Paving, also of Brimberger, who helped us out when we were doing the big move. Click here to watch that video. We are delivering 1 load of Type 1 and then 5 loads of sand back to back into one of his sites. Back in the yard, we're breaking out all of the timber for the shuttering. We're preparing for tomorrow. Up the top of the yard, I've got the lads to cut some trees which were beginning to damage the fence, which keeps us away from the main network. Just a bit of housekeeping while the sun is still shining. And some good news, the Central London penthouse. Been telling you about it for months. We've gone through all the plans. David, who has worked really hard on it, we submitted our quote and the job has been accepted. So we're going to be bringing you a Central London penthouse refurbishment project. We're going to have a meeting with the client and talk to them about the permissions they need from the freeholder of the building and the start date. It's Friday morning, we're in the yard. The time is 7 a.m. and it's time for another day of heavy lifting. These containers are going to be stacked in the same way in the new yard. So the best way to do it is take the top one off, put it over the other side, lift the bottom one, take it to the new yard, drop that in place, then come back to the old yard, put the top container on, then go back to the new yard and put it on top of the one which is already on the bottom. In the new yard, preparing for the first of the containers, we measured the width of the stairs going up to the offices because we're going to need a staircase coming down from the top container. We can never block over there network rail access to the main network, so after that we've measured out the staircase, then we're going to drop a 40-foot container, but we're going to mark it up on the floor now, and that will be our starting point for the not the lifts, for the drop-offs today. This is why you measure. So if the first 40-foot container drops here, I can't see that we've got enough space for the shovel to get round and to tip into the bagging plant. It's not going to work. So I'm thinking of shifting everything over to this side. So the first 40-foot container drops here, and the workshop area, temporary workshop area, is over here. Then the 20-footers, and then have this as a storage area, but it leaves more room for the shovel to drive in. The lads are just putting a bit of type 1 in front of the slab, so when the lorry does get over here, it's not trying to mount the concrete and at the same time damaging it, because it's still pretty new. Tez is here, scratching his head.
Scratching my head, wondering why I'm here.
It's good that on a Friday morning, he's got time for jokes. Thoroughly enjoying his Friday in the yard, isn't it, Tezza?
That's what it is. Thoroughly enjoying.
Oh, now Terry's wearing bare aftershave, smelling sweet in the yard. We don't really carry on with that sweet boy behaviour here. Couple little sprays, couple. We don't really wear aftershave in this yard.
Smells of diesel.
Diesel on the t-shirt, yeah. Old Spice on the neck. We're measuring this 40-foot container, and the far corner there, what the lads have just marked, that will be the marker. If we follow that measurement to here, there will now be a gap at the back of the container there in order that they line up along the front. That's the best we're going to get it, all things considered. Up in the top yard, we couldn't pick up the bottom container because there was some concrete around it and there's a few heavy items. So the lads are going to pull out the 1.7 ton machine, what we used in the past, what couldn't break out the concrete. We're going to track that all the way up the top and try to break out some of it. But we didn't want to waste time. We wanted to continue with the move. So when we do go back up there, we're going to apply the same logic that we did when we picked up the other 40-foot container, which is here already, attaching on one side and trying to yank it out the ground. We've broken out a lot of the concrete, but still cannot manage to lift the container. So the lads in the build firm are gonna start taking out items one by one until the container is light enough to be lifted. Disconnecting the tractor unit from the trailer means we can get the crane in a better position and try to maximize its lifting capacity. After all these years, looking at the underside of the container, they're still in good nick. One of the lads is going to go and grab a tape measure. There used to be admixtures for concrete sat on top, the container on top of this, and then we used to have all the nozzles fitted in here. But we think the length of the 20-foot container is going to clash with this, so we may need to cut these off quickly. Only a few of them. Time now is 3:56. We're now picking up the 20-footers, but the lads are all getting back from a day's work, all dieseling up. So I'm getting them to reverse to this area. Rather than pulling up here and then going round, they're reversing and then they're going back into the other yard. We have one concrete lorry load in here, what has to go back out to a job also. So I'm with the lads from the construction firm making a list about the work we want to do tomorrow, because we want to pick up the water tank in the other yard, which is now empty, and place it behind the water tower over here, and at the same time drill, put resin and put bolts into the water tower. It's not going nowhere. It holds 17,000 litres of water, but it's good practice, because who knows when it's empty and when there could be an accident and it could take a slap off a machine and fall over. Ben was on day work today. Our friends at Sever Rail, they've given us the rubber matting that we put over the train track to make it a crossover. They have their own 40-yard bins, which look a lot nicer than ours. What they do on their rail projects, they put it in and then they recycle all of the steel and other items that come off the railway, which can be recycled. So Ben is taking it, moving it from one of their jobs and moving it to another. You will notice we lifted one of the 20-foot containers a moment ago and placed it close to the 40-footers. This is going to be the top unit. We did this to save time. Moving closer to the final destination means when we're in position to put the bottom unit in, we can reach the top unit without having to move the crane again. The container at the bottom is slightly longer, but we managed to split the difference. And are we all right there? Yeah, but we've managed to split the difference, so it fits perfectly. Nice. I am in the new Ashville temporary workshop. When we do the scaffold stairs, oh, even echoes in here, echo, echo, echo. When we do the stairs, we're gonna put a temporary roof on it, which is gonna protrude at the front to stop some element of the rain coming in. It's not gonna stop it entirely, it's just a bit of a shield. And then I think we're gonna also have to put some sheeting down the back, again, to stop the rain blowing the wind in. I know they're just containers, but they are now in place, leaving more space in the rest of the yard for us to do all of our bits and pieces. And the last minute move we did here now means that the loading shovel can drive in and load the bagging plant. The steel storage units, which we have stored all over the yard, we're going to begin to bring them over here and tuck them behind so we can begin to store all of our steel and make a nice working area. The time is 5:14 p.m. and that's it for Friday. It's Saturday and we're in the yard. This is the water tank, which is a backup to the water tower. Now we've taken it down, we start the long tracked journey down to its new home. We're moving the interlocking protruding shapes from the top level of the blocks and then fitting steel road plates to provide a base for the tank to sit level and flush. We are trying to get the backup water tank in place behind the water tower so we can have 37,000 litres of water. We've almost bolted down the water tower at the front. If we can just get this behind, we don't necessarily need to connect it, but it's very fidgety and the space is really tight and the reach on the machine isn't fantastic. Time is 12 minutes past 3 p.m. The final driver just got back. Good lad. He's loading cement for Monday morning. Quite busy on the concrete, so all the lads that came back loaded this evening. And then the cement, or the dust as we call it, will settle and then you can add some more. Nice, you can get that little bit more concrete out. I'm not gonna lie, it has been a long, busy week. I'm not complaining, but I'm just extremely tired. I'm happy we got the containers in place, but it's still not enough. We need the roof over the top, we need the stairs. Now we need to move all the kit that was previously in this area. The scaffolding, which is over there, we need to get that over here so when the scaffolders come, they have it to hand to be ready. And we have to work out the plan with the scaffold, because like here, we have all these doors, but we can't have support legs in the way of the doors. So we're probably gonna have to put some sort of, forgive my terminology, some sort of bridge and ensure that it's nice and strong, because when people are in the containers, they may bring something heavy out of the container and we wanna make sure that the stairs is robust. There is a long way to go, but we have got a little bit further. And that's it for Ashville Weekly episode 200. 200 weeks of doing this. Click here for the Ashville website. Click here to subscribe to our channel. Click down here to see an Ashville video you may not have seen before, and click down here for last week's episode, which was number 199. I'm not going to get it wrong this week because I said 200, so I know the number before is 199.